One. Hey guys, welcome back to the Nets, the home of unbiased views. And with me is Elroy. This is a channel where we talk about cricket and football. Cricket by the jersey, I am wearing that. I am more hyped up about the World Test Championship and not about the transfer rumors that we have been associated with. And today we will be talking about some of the transfer rumors that we have been listening to over the past few days with Arsenal. Uh, Guys, so if you have come in here, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know how we are doing. Leave us a feedback. We'll be glad to work on it. And Elroy, welcome back.
Hey, KU. Yeah, lots happening over the last 48 hours or so when it comes to Arsenal transfers. So yeah, lots to talk about.
Uh, so with my basic complaint with Arsenal transfers is we have been listening to all these new names that have come in.
Yeah,
The newest one being James Madison. Let's talk about him for a little bit.
yeah,
Madison, we have seen him perform really well for Leicester, right? Over the
yes.
years, he's been pretty much the engine that is driving Leicester in the midfield. Now, all of a sudden, he's getting associated with Arsenal. Leicester have been performing better than what we have over the past few years. Firstly, how do you think those rumors are?
So yeah, considering the fact that it's been reported by reliable, journalists and Twitter accounts, I would say it has legs to it, definitely. And yeah, it is something that is possible. But the biggest issue right now is definitely the money. Because see, first of all, let's there's another transfer target who we will be talking about, and that is Ben White. And we know his quoted price itself is 50 million. Why 50 million? One, because and the reason why it gets such a high tag is purely because he's English. The English value definitely increases the value of the player there. So the same case is going to be with Madison. When you're buying an attacking player, someone who's going to give you goals and assists, and he's going to be English, his rate, it's going to be nothing below 60 million. Even I feel 60 to 70 million is the quoted price. And I know for sure that Leicester are not going to budge. Like, they sold Maguire for 85 million, and I don't see why they would sell someone like Madison for anything below 60. So the biggest challenge I see for Arsenal to get this will be the price. So if Arsenal somehow have the money and they seem to be in a mood to splurge, then yeah, that might work out for us. But if not, it's going to be a very difficult deal financially.
So that's one aspect. I agree with you. And
Yeah.
realistically, why would a player of Madison who is up and coming want to sign for Arsenal right now from a club which he knows is doing better? And again, I'm being absolutely unbiased. Arsenal is not going to do anything for the next year, year and a half at least.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. To touch up on that point, which I got to know from a couple of, like, again, reading a couple of tweets. So one of the things is that Madison has kind of had a fallout with Brendan Rodgers. I am yet to confirm that, but there was this disciplinary issue with them wherein I think they broke some COVID protocols, and they were dropped, Madison along with a couple of others. And from what I gather, ever since the last couple of months, Madison and Rogers was not selecting Madison. Like, even I have not followed this up properly, but this is what I've been reading, that there is some kind of a friction. So that could be one of the reasons why Arsenal think that it's a deal that can be done, because if the player suppose is willing to move out, maybe, and if he has a fallout, if he's fallen out with the coach, that could be one of the reasons why we do. It might be a possibility. Again, it's still very difficult, but I mean, for the way the news has come out right now, it seems like it could happen if Arsenal really, really do have the money. It's like, if Arsenal pay the money, we can. There's a chance we get him.
Arsenal and transfers, the biggest thing that is that drives it and annoys pretty much everybody is we often come across these rumors where they say Arsenal have been in talks with Madison and his agents for the past two months. I don't
Yeah,
understand why somebody who's in talks for 2 months takes this long to close out a deal. Like
yeah,
when you go to a car dealership, you don't stay in talks with a dealer for 2 years, 2 months to actually buy a car. You go in and you buy a car. It's as easy as that. So I don't
yeah.
know what disconnect there happens with Arsenal, but nonetheless, let's talk about the new name that was associated with us, Locatelli. It
Yeah.
was. Even before he scored the 2 goals for Italy, we were somehow associated with Locatelli in the past.
Yes, yes. And we spoke about him in our previous podcast when we spoke about how good Italy were. He was one of the players that we mentioned as well. So you see, uh, he's a player who is quality. He has had a good season at Sassuolo. Will he come here? I mean, the thing is, if he leaves Sassuolo, which is seems like quite a high chance that he does, then there could be a strong chance that we get him, because see, at the end of the day, Arsenal can provide, even though we don't have European football, we can still, in my opinion, we can still attract some quality players. One is because we do have the financial power. I mean, for all the things that we say that, yes, the situation has been bad, but by the looks of it, this time the owner seems to be backing us, maybe not directly. They have taken a loan, and that loan will be used for, buying players. So that aspect is going to be there. So Arsenal can is always a very attractive club for a lot of players. So if he leaves and we can get in the price, it's a possibility. But as of now, from what we gather, Juventus are most likely to sign him. And at the end of the day, Italian leagues, I mean, any player that shines, next thing you know, he's usually at Juventus. So that is one of the most common things that take place. So I would say he might end up there.
So then there was that transfer rumor where Bellerin and there would be a straight swap between Ramsey and Bellerin, and suddenly Ramsey scored yesterday. So there was a Twitter explosion that yes, we should
Yeah.
get Ramsey back. He's a legend. He's a legend. What's your take on that?
See, as I have said this quite a few times. For me, it's like, the likes of Ramsey, the likes of Chesney, we have moved on from them. I mean, obviously, we could definitely do with the quality of Ramsey. Ramsey at the Euros showed the same signs of, I mean, he had the same quality as what he had in the 2016 Euros and what he has shown at Arsenal. And I even tweeted about it that Ramsey has that one talent, which is to make those late runs into the box and score. A, a talent like that is worth millions in terms of football, because you're getting goals and assists from a quality output from a midfielder, which again, we do have a player like that who did that for Newcastle. So that is definitely one of the aspects we need very, very badly in our team. Because if you look at the last two seasons of our attack has been very, very, how to say, monotonous and bland. Like, it's such a mechanical movement. There's nobody making that dynamic, that run, which can catch the opponents by surprise, where you never know what is going to happen. Like someone who's just making a late run into the box and scoring. Nobody does that. I mean, Emil Smith Rowe tends to do that here and there. Joe Willock is actually good at that, and he's shown that because he did that for the reserves, and he did that at Newcastle. But Ramsey, at the age of 31 and with high wages, is he the right move in terms of, does he make sense? I would say the move would not make sense that way, because mainly, again, age profile, and then he still has his hamstring issue. You never know when that hamstring is just going to give way, and next thing you know, you are in a massive loss. And the one of the reasons, the rumored reasons, was that we didn't give him a big contract was because of that, right? Because of his recurring injury problems, which always casts a big shadow over him getting continuous games.
So hypothetically, let's say if Ramsey is to cut his is willing to take a pay cut just to come back to Arsenal, and he knows that he's not going to be a starter in the PL. He may come in for the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes or if there is an injury and there needs to be a difference. Would you accept him at Arsenal?
See, right now, Arsenal is in a period where we are trying to redefine our entire midfield. We are looking at two new central midfielders. Now, if at all we do not get any players like the main choice, because I'm sure Arsenal already have a list of their top priority targets who they would need to build the current midfield around. If we are not getting those, and an ideal situation is there, maybe I would say, okay, like, I would rather have someone like Ramsey than somebody who's quality wise worse than that. That is what I'm saying. I mean, I would rather have Ramsey right now in the team as compared to someone like Ceballos, because Ceballos was a massive disappointment for me. So in terms of that, in terms of quality wise, if we are not getting a quality midfielder and he stays available, or maybe on a year's loan or something that way, I would take him, but I still don't think it would be the right move on a long term picture for the club right now.
here is, and this is the strategic and back end approach that I'm talking about. Okay. I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were yesterday, and we were talking about the big impact that is going to be made on Arsenal and Arteta this year. Arteta so far has been playing behind closed doors. This time there
Yes,
will
that's
be fans out there. They will be booing him. There will be, those reactions, instant knee
yeah,
jerk reactions that Arsenal is associated with in the stadium right
yes,
there with Arteta. Having a fan favorite in the midfield may help Arteta to a certain extent, and that could be one
yes.
point that I think that Arteta or Arsenal should target for Ramsey just to stable that crowd. That if he comes in and scores that one goal, which manages to be a game changer, that is going
Yeah.
to impact Arteta a lot.
Yeah, that is definitely there. But see, for me right now, it's just that look, for me, I want the long-term future at the club. Arteta could be a person who, if he doesn't feature right now, within the next 6 months, he's gone. You know, but see, the thing with Arteta is when you look at the type of players who we are targeting. Yes, he's directly targeting some experienced players in the likes of people who are Premier League ready. The fact that he's look, it says a lot if the fact that Arteta or Arsenal are ready to pay maybe say 35, 40 million for Ruben Neves, although that could be agent talk. And I think that see, that is mainly a fan theory. The Ramsey Bellerin swap and all these are mainly fan theories in my opinion. And yes, in a particular situation, yes, we would all like that. Maybe like, see, for instance, had Ramsey been given a contract and stayed given a contract back then and he stayed at the club, I would have definitely had that. But right now it just feels that it's you know too many factors involved to for this not to happen. I mean, from in my view,
Right.
it's
And
it's not a deal that should.
so, so now also think about it this way. Yesterday,
Yeah.
the fixtures were announced.
Yes.
We don't really have the best of fixtures in the first 5 or 6 weeks.
True, that is
Now,
there.
put that along with the fact that the fans will be in the stadium for those 5 or 6 weeks. Arteta is already getting on their nerves. Arteta is
Yeah.
at that point where he's not even coming out and making statements like, okay, who do we want? Who do we not want? And that is the Arsenal culture that I know that no one makes any,
uh,
and they don't
no, that
announce
is,
anything.
yeah, that is there. But right now I think none of the club managers are back in office as well, so none of them will be saying anything this way unless they do like a one-off interview. So from what I read, gathered, like, I think Edu is just back in office, back at the club from his holiday on Monday. So right now it's not nothing with Arteta. The main job right now is in Edu's hands in terms of getting all of this done.
Mhm. Then that being said, I'm pretty sure Edu is also keeping an eye out on the Brazilian talent Copa America that is happening right now. But let's
Yes,
talk again
yes,
about the fixtures and how that timeline may impact Arteta. We
yeah,
have big games in the first 2 months of Arsenal coming back. And
yes.
do you think it would mean that if Arteta does not perform in the first 2 months, we are pretty much looking at a new manager or an interim coming in, and who knows, maybe it's Mertesacker who's managing this team for the time being till someone else comes in. We
uh,
don't know
that
how
is
Arsenal
no
actually.
as yeah, that is actually, I'll come back to that point about Mertesacker. First of all, I feel yes, 2 months will be too short. Last season it looked different because 2 months means it will be August, September, which is too early for the club. Knowing Arsenal, we will not make any big call so early. I have a feeling that Arteta has still around November or December, mainly December. By December, if we are not challenging, ideally in the top four, but given the kind of squad overhaul we are rumored to have and the investment that is again rumored to be there, if we are not in that top six bracket and challenging for us whatever position we are for a spot higher, then he's definitely going to be, the position will be reconsidered because it will be
So
like almost two years at the helm and without any visible progress. That would be a big red flag. But I don't think 2 months would be something which the club, because the club knows at the end of the day, see, the three, I mean, in the first six fixtures itself, we are facing three rivals in the form of Chelsea, City, and Tottenham in the first six fixtures. I mean, sometimes yes, no doubt, quality is a difference, but sometimes these big games, a lot of luck factor comes. It's always fine margins, so it's difficult to judge straight away. Yes, the fans and everyone are going to lose their head, but I think the decision makers will give some amount of leeway for that.
we have Arsenal in. two different groups which are like, poles apart. One is the decision makers, and then
Yes.
there is this little sense of negativity that is associated with Arsenal club, which the fans bring in, and it just shoots up when the
True.
timing
True.
is not right. So yes, if God forbid the results don't go our way against Tottenham or against Chelsea, I can see the fans erupting and being against Arteta in the first 2 months itself. Uh, that's just my take, and I hope
See.
that doesn't happen. I hope we win.
Yeah, but Kev, that's one of the points I want to make. Like, the problem is like yesterday, before the fixtures could be out itself, people are already talking about what if we have a bad run and Arteta goes out. This is my problem. At the end of the day, if you are an Arsenal fan, I mean, I agree that you can be critical of how everybody wants the club to be successful, but in a hypothetical situation, you're already thinking of the worst case and the negative cases. It's like a lot of people here sometimes are here for the drama rather than, for the external factors rather than actual wins and the game, which is something which kind of bothers me. And like, the fixtures are out before you think about how the fixtures would be, and everybody is just directly talking about Arteta going off. And I agree, we have also spoken about that, and that just shows that how negative the atmosphere and how pressurizing the situation has been. My thing is that first of all, we have to go through a good transfer window, get in the right players, and be ready for the start of the season. Start the season in the best of way. Because see, there are people who might be Arteta fans, or there might be people who do not like Arteta. But at the end of the day, we are all Arsenal fans, and what we need is we need our club to get back challenging. We cannot be the way that we've had this last season. It should not be tolerated. And for me, it is just, you know, if it is Arteta is the man to take us back into that, like, please be it. Like, just take us back. I want to see Arsenal back into the winning ways.
You said a funny thing there. You said a good transfer window. A good transfer window, sadly, right now is different for the fans and different for the management. As per the management, a good transfer window is buy somebody super cheap. And for the
Well,
fans, it's right now about get a big name and get that midfield going somehow. Make use of all the
yes,
forwards. So
yes. See,
again,
but
let's move on to the
yeah,
next one who's associated with us. There was this
yeah.
little kid from Anderlecht. Look, I don't even know his name.
Lokonga, yeah,
Lokongi.
Lokonga,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So Lokong seems to be, I mean, to be honest, again, I had not heard of him before until the name started to pop up and links to Arsenal. So the rumor is that we made a bid for him around, like, each time everybody quotes a different figure. Some say it's 12.5 million, some say it's 15 million, and they are holding out for like 17 or 20, something that way. I think Lokonga is one deal that will be completed by Arsenal. And I'm almost sure that he'll end up being the first signing for Arsenal. That's just a, it seems like a straightforward thing unless Arsenal. Now see, Arsenal are technically losing two central midfielders in Ceballos and in Xhaka. So when you're losing someone like that with Xhaka, they'll obviously replace him with someone, a really big, hopefully a big name midfielder or a good quality midfielder. And with the likes of Ruben Neves being linked, or Bissouma, losing Ceballos means you cannot go and just end up buying like a very high priced midfielder or someone like a big name, because then you're at the risk of having a lot of central midfielders with qualify. And again, there is I mean, it's good to have competition, but let's see what has happened with Donny van der Beek at United. He's not getting a chance to start with the number of midfielders they already have. So Lokonga seems to be a very interesting prospect, and he as a we need four central midfielders, and if we have Partey, El Nini, a Xhaka replacement, and maybe Lokonga, it seems like a very good deal, because he, at the end of the day, he's 21, 22. So he might be okay with being benched occasionally. He's not going to be the starter for sure, but he's a good option to have. Based on the clips that I have watched, he's very good at moving ahead with the ball, and very good at distributing and putting these progressive passes ahead, and that is something that our club has definitely lacked. So I would say if we get Lokonga, it would be a rare good move from the club, because it would be quite a smart move from the club, and one which we have not been used to making of late. So I'm actually excited for this move if it does happen.
Another name associated with us recently was Van de Beek. It
Yeah,
was said that Arsenal was talking to Manchester United about having him. I
yeah,
had
but
seen
I
him
think,
play before.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I was not happy when Manchester United bought it. And that was because, I thought there was much more to him than what he had shown for United. But is that a player that you see us having in the midfield? And he can be that midfield engine that moves back and forth, the box to box guy.
Yes. Yeah, actually, even I have liked Van de Beek when he played for Ajax, and especially the season that Ajax did well in the Champions League, he was one of their standout midfielders, and he was good. But I think those are not true rumors. They are probably just trying to, it's just agent talk for sure, because some of the big reporters have already denied that. So I don't think that move is going to happen at Arsenal.
Okay. Fair enough. And then let's say the other names that were associated with us. Let's talk about the outgoings. We know that Kolasinac was someone was coming in for Kolasinac, and that was like rumored to be 4 million. We
Yeah,
have Torreira, who's going to definitely miss out, but no one wants to buy him at this time. No outgoing so far associated with him. Though I do feel that that will happen in the last few days, and we might get peanuts for
yeah.
him again. Then there is Guendouzi and Saliba. Strange case where why would two youngsters who showed all possible talent are suddenly being shown the doors?
Yeah. Uh, this is actually one of the most, this is especially with Ben White being linked to us as well. It's one of those moves which has caused one of the moves which has caused a lot of divide between the fans. I think everybody is okay with Guendouzi leaving at this point of time because see, we do not know what has happened behind the scenes, and by the looks of it, see, even Guendouzi, who seems to be a talent, he's not set the world alight at Hertha Berlin. And the fact that, okay, maybe now there are some rumors of Dortmund maybe going after him, Marseille after him, but none of the really big clubs are after him, which shows that there is something, maybe Arteta was right in that case. And see, when it comes to Guendouzi, I'm like, we don't know what has happened behind the scenes because everybody speaks about disciplinary issues. And so his case is different. What does bother me and a lot of Arsenal fan obviously is Saliba. Now you can make sense out of it because see, at the end of the day, we have two left-sided center backs, so that is done, and we need two right-sided center backs, which we do have in the form of Holding and Saliba. Now, if we end up getting Ben White, we have three right-sided center backs, which again puts a different equation to it. That is Saliba really going to get a chance or no? Now, some of the reporters say that he is going to get a chance in preseason, and based on that, we will make a decision. Some of them say that his career, I mean, he's on the loan and transfer list. To be honest, this is something which we will only get to know in a couple of weeks' time, maybe, because yes, the it does seem like Arteta doesn't rate him, but we don't actually know that because see, another thing I want to always say is that media knows that by when you add something about Arsenal in the news, they're just going to get a reaction. They're going to get their clicks. They are going to get their views and everything. So sometimes you don't know how much of this is just made up and it's just to trigger because everybody knows it's Arsenal fans are the most easiest to be triggered right now. Like the way we lose our heads are like nothing like it. So I would, if we buy Ben White and say Saliba is sent on loan or Saliba is not in Arteta's plan, I would be really, really upset with that. Because I was listening to the Arsenal Vision podcast also the other day, and they made a very good point. We've spent 30 million for Saliba when he was what 18 or 19, which is quite a big commitment in terms of financially. It's a big investment. But at the end of the day, all the fans saw it as a very, very smart investment because he is a player who's highly rated, and everybody knows that he has the potential. And if we let go of him, because see, Arsenal are not a club that can go and spend 70 million and get a Van Dijk. We are not a club. So the next best thing is you invest smartly, maybe pay a bit more and buy the next big thing, which is what we did. And that is what gave everyone optimism, like a ray of hope with Saliba, that he is the next big thing. And we've done a very, very smart deal here. And if we can't find a place to play him, that goes off very badly. And for me, again, in the Arsenal Vision podcast, they brought a very important point here. This also comes down to the ownership. If the ownership has signed off on 30 million for an 18-year-old player, and if he's not going to be used, like, what are you doing with the coach? You should be putting pressure on the coach that, see, you have spent 30 million on this. This is your player. You should be playing him. Like, why is it not? I mean, but again, I just want to save my judgment for the end of the window. if Saliba is in the squad and he's playing fall, but come August, first week of August, first Premier League, he might be the starter as well. So we don't know right now. Right now it's just a media rumor, but if at all he does end up being sold, it would be quite a big mess from Arsenal's point of view.
And then let's talk about the other big miss that we probably might end up making, and that would be the right back situation that we currently have.
Yeah.
We have Cedric, who's used as a floater, left back or right back, wherever we feel he's needed.
Yes.
We have Chambers, who was decent when he was given that role, and he probably finished the season on a high. And now we are also investing in Ben White. We feel like we are
Yes.
investing in Ben White. What does that mean to the careers of these two guys?
Yeah. I mean, uh, the right back situation again is very. I mean, it's almost for sure that Bellerin is going to be leaving the club. It's written on the walls like he's going to go. So right now that leaves you with the likes of Chambers and Cedric. Ideally you would say that, okay, like if you can have Chambers as a backup right back and we buy a new right back and that's it. And you try to get rid of Cedric. The problem with Cedric is, one, Cedric has another 3 years on his contract, and he's 28, I guess, 28, 29. He doesn't need to go unless he really is, because he's probably on his last big contract, and for him he's like, why should I leave? I'm getting paid a good amount, I might as well stay. That is one option. But if he wants game time, because he's already missed out on the Euros, so next target would be the World Cup. Will he
World
get
Cup.
into the World Cup squad? I mean, it depends on his ambition at the same time. So if Cedric is ambitious enough, he would probably want to leave because he knows that he won't get playing time here. But will anyone buy him? There's no rumor whatsoever with him. So I have a feeling the right back, although it's a position very badly needed, and if we upgrade to a good right back, like next thing you know, our attack and defense is balanced. I think a right back all of a sudden has become a very low priority for us. It's like if we get in the money and we are able to move players out, we'll end up getting a right back. If not, we will just stick with Chambers and Cedric, is what I feel. But Chambers will be kept, is what I feel, because he'll be used as the backup. He'll either be the first choice or the backup right back come the start of the season.
So, and we can go on, and this is like a never-ending subject for us. But what I was also thinking about was if we are investing so heavily in a right back, and
Yeah.
let's say that eventually we decide that we will be playing with three in the back and have wing backs rather than which was successful when Arteta first came in. We were playing wing backs rather than we were playing three defenders and
Yeah.
having two wing backs. Does it mean that that would probably mean curtains for somebody like a Pepe will be overworked on that side, and we don't really have a backup for Pepe who's a quality backup for Pepe. That would mean that somewhere deep down we know that Mari or Holding will be limited to an FA Cup or a cup tie, and the others will be playing the Premier League most of the time. Now we know that it's a lean squad. We don't really have those many competitions in the future.
Yeah. No, I think Pepe will not be sacrificed. Pepe is going to be a part of the front three, and that's it. Like, that is not going to be taken away from him. But yeah, I mean, if we have like for certain occasions, if we end up going with a three at the back, it's going to be interesting to see who we play as a wing back. That is definitely going to be there, because Chambers would not ideally be a good wing back. Cedric, maybe that's a possibility, or if Bellerin is still there, or maybe a new right back, maybe they would be able to handle those. Or like how against for quite some time in the match against Benfica, Arteta might end up playing Saka there, which is highly possible. Although he's a left footer, he'll play him there. I mean, those are the options, but I don't think attack wise any major player will see. Holding, in my opinion, this season is already going to be like the third or fourth choice center back. He's not going to be the first choice. He might start off as the first choice given the current situation, because let's just take into account that we get someone like Ben White. He's going to have a Euros. He's going to be back later, so it's definitely Holding who's going to start the season. But as the season progresses, I think unless he completely changes his game and he's someone who's really really dominant and establishes himself, which I don't see, because he's already of the age where he has had chances to prove himself, and he's kind of he's improved a bit but not set the world alight with his defending. So yeah,
Right. And I mean, they always say that, and on that note, I would say that let's call it quits. The number of players that have been associated with us, just by the sheer size of all these players, if we sign in, we'll need a bigger stadium. I was tweeting about that yesterday, that just with the capacity of players that we have been, the capacity of the stadium and the number of players that have been signed in, we probably might need a bigger one. But
yeah.
let's move to the next topic and let's try to keep it short. Uh, Euros.
Yeah.
Anybody in particular that has been the most impressive so far?
Sorry.
Euros, the Euros.
Yeah.
Any team that you feel has really been the pick of all teams so far?
Uh, Again, this is me just being hopping on the same point again. For me, the way Italy have been playing has been really really good, and mainly because Italy have not, considering that the fact that they weren't they were not termed as the favorites, but in my opinion, they definitely are. They are a very very strong contender, and again, they for me, compared to mainstream media not mentioning them a lot prior to the tournament, and now they're starting. I think for me, they are definitely a team that is going to surprise it. Germany France match was a brilliant match in general, because it was a good match to watch, a quality match. And again, if you look at the Germany match, I was also writing off Germany, but Germany, although they didn't score against France, they showed that okay, they are still a good team. They created some chances, and they seemed like a good team. Apart from this, yeah, there have been some good. Wales was a very good, pleasant surprise yesterday. They played really, really well. It was an end-to-end game. Turkey have their chances, Wales are creating their chances. That was, but then Wales seemed to have done it in the previous tournament as well. So that's good. So yeah, quite a few teams and quite a few players standing up, and it's exciting to watch.
I was expecting a lot more from France, and I thought that France kind of fizzled out with against
Yes.
Germany. And again, kudos to Germany for keeping them,
Yeah.
holding them down that bad. But
Yeah.
I always say this, that Germany is one of those teams that you can never count out. They will
Yes.
always find a way to do it in big tournaments. So now I know they had a horrible Euro, I mean, a horrible World Cup, and this one was again something that was not the brightest starts. But their next two games will be Portugal and what was the last one, which the other group
Hungary.
team, Hungary.
Hungary.
So I see
Yeah.
them winning past Hungary.
Yeah.
I see them getting close with Portugal. I don't know what it will be, dominated by Cristiano Ronaldo primarily. But the
Yeah.
winner of that game ends up playing England in the next rounds. So the second one
Yeah.
in that group is going to play England. So
Yeah.
again, that combination is going to be surprising. I don't know if Portugal manages to get there.
Uh,
I cannot count Germany out yet, but I think
yes.
it
Yeah.
may be Germany versus England for Euros for the quarterfinal,
Yeah. That's going to be
and
good.
that will be
Before we
interesting. Yes.
yeah, before we close, okay, here's a little thing that has happened as we have been talking. So as you might have known, Paulo Fonseca, who was the Roma manager, was going to be the Tottenham manager, and all of a sudden that deal has collapsed, and now Spurs are most likely to get Gattuso as their manager. He's a hot favorite to be. So that has happened over the last half an hour since we have been talking.
Brilliant. Always like to end on a high note. So on,
Yeah.
on that, let's
Yeah.
just wrap up for today. We should probably meet again to talk about all these outgoings that we have in Arsenal.
Sure.
But
Sure.
before we go
Yeah.
there, one quick note. India plays tomorrow World Test Championship. So I will be up
Yes.
at 4 in the morning to watch them.
Yeah.
And hopefully I get to not miss anything. So good luck, Team India, and good luck to
Yes.
Euros, whoever is playing. I don't really care about them at this time. All focus is on the
Yeah.
World Test Championship. So on
Yeah.
that note,
Like
thank you,
my head.
Elroy. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And
Yes, case. Hope.
to all
Yeah.
to
We shall
all the
catch up
users
soon.
who
Yeah.
have been watching, to all the viewers who have been watching, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know what we are doing good. Let us know what we are not doing good, and give us a shout out if you like us. And stay healthy, stay safe wherever you are. Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.